All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. Today I'm joined by Daniel, Wheeze on the board.
Hi.
And the voice of reason, 69th Blizzard.
How's it going?
And Lonnie may be able to surmount his technical issues and join us, in which case St. Louis Kiss will be in the house. And if not, well, we're going to start anyway. So, Lonnie, thank you for your effort trying to join the show today. First of all, anyone catch the Paul Stanley interview with John Bonamassa last night? Because I have not. Ken, you're nodding your head affirmatively, so can you give us a brief précis about all the succulent points that he raised, if any?
I watched it and I was waiting for something new and interesting, and I really didn't get anything. It's pretty much everything you've heard Paul talk about before. He talks about, they talk about the Phantom, his run on the Phantom of the Opera and things like that, and a little bit of the early stuff about seeing the Byrds in concert and other stuff, and then Lonnie got his 8086 computer working.
I had to change computers.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it was good.
Washing machines, computers, you just don't have much luck at the moment.
No, I do not at all.
All right, so I guess the Paul Stanley interview, otherwise, like I said, it was really not a lot of new, interesting things. They did talk about how, difficult it is these days getting into the music industry and that sort of stuff. Teeny bit of Wicked Lester, but again, it was everything we've heard before, and it was kind of very boring for me, actually. But you may like it, someone else may like it. It's just maybe they haven't heard some things before. I guess check it out and decide for yourself.
No, thank you for summarizing it. Now I don't need to. Lonnie, you didn't miss much. The first question was if you'd seen the Paul Stanley interview on John Bonamassa's podcast last night. I have not. Ken's the only one who did, apparently.
And I have not either. Maybe that makes me a bad Kiss fan, but I have not. It doesn't. For some reason, I just had a good feeling that what Ken just described is exactly what we were going to get. I mean, there's nothing really going on, so there wasn't going to be any kind of earth-shattering announcement or something like that. Or, I had a good feeling there's going to be more of the same tired spiel that we've gotten recently. So I didn't wake up this morning. I got to listen to that on my way to work this morning.
No, fair enough. There is some cool YouTube video. Actually, it's on Vimeo, and do go to petercriss.net to see it, where it was actually meant to be watched, rather than giving clicks to YouTube channels that may not necessarily have permission to be showing it. But Peter Criss, the cat man. Let's see if I can raise the shirt slow enough. Doing "Don't You Let Me Down," singing along to his CD. But he's there. He's all set up in his home, looking comfortable, looking fantastic. For me, that was money. Daniel, did you see it? And what were your thoughts on the Catman's, I guess, debut during the COVID shutdown?
Yeah, I watched it, and I was pretty taken aback by his performance, because I think it's pretty incredible that the guy who is most inactive and the furthest away from the limelight is the one who's actually shining. I think his vocals were great. Many people made comments on the reverb and the sound of that, but I think he did a great performance, and it was really nice to see him again. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, so one thing I will ask each of you who watched it is, if Peter was to do another, what would be your one pick that you would love for him to do? And I'll rope back around to you, Daniel, after I've spoken to everyone else about it. Ken, your thoughts on Peter Criss's performance?
Yeah, I watched it. yesterday, and I thought it was great. I know he's pretty much singing to his own recording, but it sounded great. It looks like he was really into it. And finally, a
Sorry.
full. Sorry for
Just laugh at me. It's
this
okay.
is too funny. I have Lonnie's screen there, but he's the only one that so far that's done it pretty much well. Besides maybe like Bruce Kulick or something, a full song. Just did a full performance. Where I know Paul's done a little bit of this and that, but man, I'd love to see each of them, try to do some more or do a full song performance, whether or not even singing to your own tape of it or CD or whatever it is of the song. That's fine. It's cool and interesting. I'd like to see more.
Absolutely. Agree. Would love to. So you had time to think when I was talking with Daniel. If you got to pick one song and say, hey, Peter, I'm your biggest fan. Would you please sing for me? What would it be?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
All right. We'll come back to you.
Come back to me. Does it have to be a solo song or a Kiss song? Or
It's a song that you want Peter to sing.
Okay. Let me think about that.
I don't think Peter's going to turn into a jukebox, but, it never hurts to throw some ideas out there. All right, Lonnie, if you've finished shaking the world up.
Sorry about that. No, I'm using a backup computer. Thought I'd try to put a better camera on here. Sorry, I didn't think it was just going to automatically turn on when I plugged it in the USB. But I saw it. I thought it was good. I thought it was cool. It was good for Peter to get out there and do something. Like he said, it's more than we've seen from the other guys as of late. So I thought it was fun. Yeah, he's just singing to his CD, but I mean, he looks at peace and he looks happy. You know what I mean? So I was very happy to see that. And I thought it was great. I thought it was fun. So what would I like to hear Peter sing? I guess in that type of setting, I'd like to see him do Hard Luck Woman in that type of setting. I think would be. I know Paul Stanley wrote it, but it's Peter's song. Peter, you hear Hard Luck Woman, you can't help but think about Peter. So I think in that type of setting, I think Hard Luck Woman would be really cool. But I could see him doing Beth though at the end of the day though, just because of what that song means to him and what that song meant to Kiss. So. But Hard Luck Woman would be my choice.
Nice.
I've got.
All right,
I've got
Ken.
mine.
What's yours?
It didn't take me too long, but I would go with "Dirty Livin'." I'd love to hear him sing that one. That one's growing on me over time, and it's a great performance, of him on that, and see if he, still has the chops, for that.
Yeah. Good point. I mean, I'd also love for him just to do a couple minute intro to the song, just talking about it and what it means to him.
That'd be great.
The context was set up nicely on the Peter Criss website, that they said why he was doing it, everything that kind of led up to him, filming it and all that, which is nice. I love the story, but I'd love to hear, Peter talking about his songs, mainly because, I've bugged him for interviews over the years. Haven't done one, but that's the stuff I'm most interested in. It's song stories. Love that. I enjoy writing them, obviously, as well. So, Daniel, have you thought of your song?
Well, it's a no-brainer. If I was that friend who filmed him, I would grab a guitar and ask him to sing Black Diamond, of course. One of the best Kiss songs ever. Of course, it's a kind of a different song than the slow song he was doing last time here, but it would be pretty interesting to hear him kind of do that one, because it was a long time ago. Or if he didn't want to do that one, we would play Strange Ways, maybe. That's a good one as well.
Wow.
Indeed. Okay. Was that in the set in New York? I think it was. Don't remember. Strutter certainly was. I think for me, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I geeked out completely when I saw that pop up. And I was like, oh yeah. And, that it was a song that he hadn't done that night. in New York City, and he hadn't done in Melbourne, obviously. It just thrilled me no end. And I think the money part was at the end, where he kind of looks at the camera and you just see the pure joy. And that's something that was better than anything. That was medicine in a look. That for all these tough times that everyone's going through across the world, there's Peter Criss, dialing in an absolutely wonderful performance. In his living room, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame statue up on his mantelpiece. There's nothing better. And that's my pick for a song. There's nothing better from Out of Control. Obviously, a song that he brought into the Dynasty sessions with Kiss.
Deep cut.
That wasn't used. No, but it's also lighter. Because if Peter's going to do this in his living room, in his beautiful home, I don't think he's going to be setting off pyro and doing Black Diamond. No offense, Daniel.
But you could do an acoustic version of Black Diamond pretty...
Yeah, but if you're singing, if you're singing along to your CD as a backing thing...
No, but the guy next to him should grab the guitar and play.
Yeah, but the guy next to him may play guitar as badly as me, and you don't necessarily... There's so many songs. You know what? Frankly, I don't care. If he did another one, I'd just be happy to enjoy it because it's positive. And looking through the thread on the FAQ, I eventually, after several pages, had to delete, when people started bickering with each other. But the comments about the performance were all positive. Everyone was thrilled. And again, that's the joy of music. People were generally very excited when Paul put a Soul Station song on and did that as well. People in this time go back to the music and the joy, and that was really cool. All right, so let's move on to more music, because it would be criminal not to mention the Rock and Roll Residency EP dropped last Friday. It's got 7 songs. One's an instrumental, one's a cover, and the rest of them. So I've had a chance to listen to this quite a few times, and I get the feeling like nearly each one of these songs could have been written for another band. Feelin' could have been by Angel or Cheap Trick. The Real Thing Comes Along is really AC/DC-ish. Come Alive, Big Monster Riff, well, I can't quite put my finger on what band that might be. UFO, perhaps. This Is Heaven. Love the vocal on that. 70s blues rock, maybe Nugent. Don't Push Me, I could hear Ace singing. And of course the insane cover of Crazy Horses. Anyone else heard it, and what are your thoughts?
I heard it yesterday, and I thought it was great. All the music's great. The performance is great. They're really good songs. One of them made me parts of one song made me think of Ace's. Maybe it was the first song of Ace's, solo album material, of some of the other stuff that he kind of tried on the solo album. It gave me that flavor. And then there's other music that made me feel like, man, I've heard this is in the style of something. I was like, man, I can't place it. I didn't know if it was Foreigner or something, some classic rock group. And but yeah, it was all really good stuff. I mean, just hearing it one time was, it was really good. I imagine if I hear it, a bunch more times, it'll get even better. So it was good.
Yeah, I'd meant to listen to it a lot more today, but today was Caress of Steel Day, so I was listening to nothing but that. Either
what? Rush,
Caress of Steel. All
I
day
love
long.
that album.
Criminally underrated. Absolutely love it to pieces. There's one part in, what is it, the Necromancer, that just go insane guitar. Lonnie, Daniel, either of you heard the Rock and Roll Residency?
I heard it. Yeah, I heard it. I listened through it. Good stuff. Bit of a Gene Simmons solo album feel to it. It was such a mix. It almost felt like, as you said, it was songs from different bands. So it didn't feel like, a record to me. Like when you listen to Revenge, you have a certain style through the songs. It felt, I don't find the word, a mixture of influences. But hell, that was probably what they were going before. So it's good songs.
Well, they are the rock and roll residency who kind of
Yeah.
make a living
So-
doing covers and having,
Yeah.
all those different influences come through. Lonnie?
Yeah, I've listened to it. Very, very diverse, like you guys have said. I haven't, kind of like Julian, I haven't listened to it as much as I would like to yet. But I will. It's on my playlist for the weekend. So, but I enjoyed it. It's just good to hear new music sometimes too. You know what I mean? So good music by good musicians. So, I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to really digging into it some more this weekend.
Nice.
I was gonna say, sign those guys up for Kiss 2.0. I mean, bring them on.
That's another show.
That's another show, an episode. Okay.
Well, Phil's got the Gene Simmons style bass playing down, without a doubt. So, who knows?
Yeah,
Those guys can play, they can sing, they can dance.
they could do it.
Damn,
Yeah, they can do it all.
they're the complete.
Isn't one of them in Accept, German?
Has done work with them, or touring
They were
work.
huge here in the 80s.
Except, I remember, yeah.
And of course,
Oh,
Ryan
Stu.
was Hair of the Dog. So, some good stuff. And before we move into, we're going to do some random topics today. But before we do, it would be a crime not to mention another new release if you're looking for some new music. And one of our, well, I won't say colleague, one of the other Kiss podcasts, Three Sides, Mark Cicchini, has a new album out with his band Left for Dead. So check it out if you so desire. It's good working class rock and roll, which is blue collar rock. Check out the samples on Amazon. I think it's up on iTunes as well. You need something to listen to. You want something new to listen to. Why not? Someone in the community. All right. Let's get into some of the topics that have been floating around on Facebook and on the FAQ in the past week. The Rockologists or other private pressings. How important, if you support any of those projects, are the number sequences to you? And this was like a really weird one. I'm like, because I don't care. I buy them to buy them. I don't care if I get number 1 or number 499 of a limited run. I just want to be in on it. But the question was, is it worth paying a premium for, say, a high number versus a not high number? And would that interest you? Ken, you're a guilty person for buying a lot of these, so I'm going to go to you first.
I've bought from the Rockologist, yes, and very good packages. And I believe I responded on that. It was on Facebook. I think Tom asked about that, and I said, no, random, just random numbers. I mean, I wouldn't want to pay more for to get number, say, 1 through 5 or something like that. I'd rather, be one of the earlier people to order. Usually that's how it works, is the first orders lots of times. The first people order usually get the lower numbers, and it goes on up from there. If you're late in ordering a album or whatever, you get a higher number. It's just, that's the way. Or it's just a luck of the draw thing too sometimes. So yeah, I'd rather just keep it at one price. I don't want to pay more for a higher number or lower number. It's more about the package and the music. Number, yeah, it's nice to have a lower number. Sometimes, I got this, I got the number 1, but it's not everything. So.
Yeah, and therein lies the problem, that people get an invoice number that says 1001. Ooh, I'm first in line, or so my number should be higher. So I get the kind of the problem between, I'm first. I was sitting there waiting to press, add to cart right at the go live time. Therefore, I should be rewarded by a high number. Whereas as a seller, I'm like, just randomize the fucking things, because keeping track of who ordered in what order and sending out is just a complete and utter nightmare logistically. So it should all be randomized. But the person at the end of the day, unless you can get rid of like any invoicing number and any identifiable way of suggesting what their number was, just accept the product, or don't put numbers on. Just say it is a limited edition of 500 copies. But then people say, well,
Yes.
prove it. Mine doesn't say that it's it's a no-win situation. Daniel, what are your thoughts?
Mhm.
Well, I think if you want to go deeper into this area, it's something for Kiss My Wax. I just watched them a little bit. They were talking about double platinum release, and man, can they go deep into vinyl. But for me, I just think it's great that someone takes the time to do proper releases of Kiss-related stuff that haven't been released on vinyl, like the Eric Carr thing there. And actually, I saw someone write about hoping that they would do Live to Win next. I think that would be a great idea as an album, if that's a possibility. But to me, this thing with numbers really doesn't matter at all, because I'm not buying vinyl that much.
Yeah. Lonnie, are you allowed to buy vinyl?
I am. Make sure no one's listening. And but no, it doesn't make a difference to me if what number it is. You know, I have other things to worry about than what number I get on a limited pressing. You know, and I guess some people don't. And I'm not trying to criticize, but you know, it doesn't matter. If you want to pay more for numbers 1 through 5 or whatever, well, it is whatever it's worth. It's worth whatever somebody's willing to pay for it, I guess.
Mhm.
You know, but you know, that's I have other concerns. I mean, I just hope it arrives and it doesn't have bent corners more than I'm worried that
Right.
you know, then I'm worried about what number I get. So you know, I'm you know, maybe I'm more worried about if I go to a concert, if I ever go to a concert, that about you know where my seats are more than I'm worried about my number on a limited vinyl. You know, if I'm first in line, let me be first in line to buy a concert ticket and get a good seat, not worry about what my number is on a limited vinyl.
Yeah, and I still like the idea of one of these pressings actually doing Live to Win or One Live Kiss. Those are two that need to be done, as is Bruce's Transformer on blue vinyl would be really nice. Again, there's so many things. One for All on green vinyl. Yeah. All
They're
right.
selling it, all that stuff. They are selling records when they do those, but or, you know, if they manage to move some units.
Yeah,
For example,
they
the
did.
car thing, did they sell enough to do another one? I mean,
Of the Eric Carr?
yeah. I mean, did it go over well, or
I don't know. I didn't buy one, so I presume they do well enough. At least I would hope so.
Mhm.
But then again, it's all down to your pressing numbers, all the other actual costs behind doing it, as to what makes sense. And obviously, some are going to be more desirable. I would think a Paul Stanley Live to Win will be more desirable than a Peter Criss One for All, strictly because the One for All has been out on vinyl previously, and the Live to Win has not. And people are more likely going to want to play one than the other now, because they probably heard One for All, and that's enough, and they'll play Live to Win a bit more, you know, strictly down to those sorts of things. But, you know, I don't ever want to get involved or know about the kind of business side of what makes these things work. It's so nice to be a consumer
Yep.
when it comes to any Kiss-related product. It's better to be a consumer, unless you end up waiting for it for years, in which case.
Right.
All right, so
Yikes.
well, no, it's not a snarky dig. It's just it's a fair thing, because what it takes to make anything happen is you know, much more challenging than most people understand, and they don't care. They don't want to hear explanations. They just want their shit that they paid for.
Yeah.
So, all right, someone bumped a thread from 2006 on the FAQ. I mean, if you can go any deeper into
2006.
They're digging deep.
the nether regions of the FAQ message board, what's the truth about Vinnie? So what is your current opinion of Vinnie Vincent? And it's kind of interesting, because I was talking with Daniel before we started this show a little bit, and it was like, what's my favorite album from the 80s? And I was like, I used to love Lick It Up. And then he came back, and everything he's done since has just made me so negative that whenever I listen to that album that I once loved, and it used to pick me up and put me in a happy place, it no longer does so. So that really kind of sums up my thinking on current Vinnie, is that it was so wonderful hoping that he'd come back when he was out of the picture, and less so once he came back into the picture and all the batshit crazy stuff came with him. So, what's my current opinion of Vinnie? I hope he's happy. End of subject for me personally, because if I want to be happy listening to Unmasked Kiss, I'll go play Asylum. I will no longer play Lick It Up to get to that happy space. Daniel.
Well, it's so interesting to hear how you're influenced by things I really don't think about when I listen to when we had the Metallic Kiss episode, Julian said, well, I couldn't put God of Thunder on the list because the demo with Paul Stanley ruined it. And then he continued,
It ruined it for him.
Hell, no
And
way
again, in
near
Julian's
the list
train
because
of
I
thought.
saw the bad video during the concert. So it's quite fun to hear. To me, it doesn't really matter how he is. I knew it was bad crazy when he came back. He's always been. There's stories all the way back to when he was in Kiss. And especially when he went over to Europe in 95. It was a similar situation. He had been gone for a while. People were hoping that he would be, stable. And these guys, Gerhard Weimer, I don't know how you say it in Americanized language, Gerhard Weimer or something. He's a Kiss fanatic, and he took Vinnie to Europe, and it was a total train wreck. And he got into a lot of problems financially and all kinds of stuff. So already back then, people knew he was crazy. And there was an interview with Nico, who did the Strike magazine. Three Sides interviewed him last week or 2 weeks ago or something. And he told some stories about Vinnie that, he's a handful. No, he's always been crazy. But a great guitarist and a great songwriter.
Yeah, I read the fanzines in, the early 2000s that went back and spoke about the challenges of that 1995 tour. Gerhard obviously wrote a very long piece on everything that went down. I haven't watched the Three Sides episode yet that kind of talks about it. But when you go back to me and my kind of mental reasoning, don't even try and figure it out. It's just not worth your time or energy, because it's very spontaneous.
It's fun.
Lonnie.
When I went to Atlanta for his debut coming back, I was so hopeful and apprehensive at the same time. Because, I remember sitting there, Julian, and you were too. Up until the time he walked out, everyone in that room was still questioning, is this really going to happen? Because he was an hour late coming out, at least an hour late coming out. The whole day was thrown off from the very beginning. And as time went on, he's late coming out. We're just like, is this really happening? Is this really happening? And then my wife, who wasn't in the room because she didn't buy a ticket. She was, I really don't need to meet this guy. So she was over by your merchandise table, actually. And she goes, I think I just saw him. Like, he's here. She goes, if that's him. And like, if you're questioning if it's him, it probably is. So I remember sitting there and her texting me like, he is here. And I'm like, oh, well, that's good. So, but, and that whole weekend, we talked about that weekend, extensively, and you can go back and listen to it. If you're going to go dig through the archives of this show, we're digging through the archives of the board. But, we talked about that weekend, and it was full of hope and anticipation, and, but I left there that weekend satisfied that, he came back, he fulfilled his promise, was the event A disorganized disaster, 100%, absolutely. But I couldn't blame him for that. He didn't organize the event. Sure, he was an hour late the first day, but I mean, whatever. But it wasn't his fault. All the nonsense that went on that weekend. But I left there very happy. I was happy I got to go. I was happy that I got to meet him finally. Very satisfied and very hopeful for his future that, you know, maybe this was going to be the start of something. And it obviously just went downhill from there. I don't think it went uphill from there at all. I think it peaked that weekend and everything just went downhill. And then the story of the next appearance, you hear like, oh, well, it was like this. Like, oh, that's not encouraging, you know. And then it just gradually just went down and down and down till where we're at now. And it's like we're exactly where we were prior to the announcement of Atlanta. Like, you know, he's just basically, you know, gone again. And, you know, once in a while he might pop up and release an insanely expensive product, and everybody kind of laughs about it, and then that's about it. So, you know, to echo what Julian said, you know, I hope he's happy. I hope he's content with life. I hope, you know, things are okay in his world. But I'm glad I got to meet him, because I don't think that opportunity is gonna ever be there again.
Yeah, no kidding. Crowds and plagues and Vinny.
It's not a good mix.
You know, I'm glad I got to meet him too. But, you know, coming off Atlanta, you know, the next announcement was kind of, you know, a plateau, was getting him to Atlanta. Then it would have been Nashville, and then it was flatline after that. That was kind of the end. Though he did follow through with appearances and make a lot of people happy, or not a lot of people. Well, depends on your perspective of what a lot means, but he did continue to make people happy with the appearance in Miami. He did show up to these park and play event things in Nashville, so he has done continued events and, you know, at other functions as well. But I think a lot of people's hopes were dashed. And yeah, I remember in Atlanta we were sitting there, we're like, holy shit, he's in there. He's actually in there being interviewed by Eddie. Is he going to walk through the door, or is he going to walk out the back door? You know,
Right.
So it happened. Derek delivered. Derek organized, Vinny disorganized, and, you know, there it kind of all was. Ken, your thoughts on Vinny now versus 2006?
Versus 2006. Oh, well.
Well, the before and after.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's nice that, yeah, he came out of wherever he was and, yeah, did that appearance you guys were lucky enough to go to. Yeah, but I agree. It all went, you know, he was going to appear here and then appear there, and everything kept falling through. Now it's down to just those either, you know, monster conventions or whatever, or his own Christmas party thing or whatever. That thing, I think originally was going to be at Graceland. That never happened. I think, you know, he has the ability maybe to do it if and maybe people are not willing to put their money on the line for the fear of him canceling out on things. So I think that's hurt him in trying to draw people to events, you know, as a way of making, you know, some money. I think he needs to gain their trust back of his fans, a lot of the fans, you know, including, you know, Julian, myself, you know, people like us who would love to hear maybe him do, you know, more music. Maybe he can do that and then start having some appearances regarding that. Play a small club. I know that never seems to happen because he doesn't like the person singing for him, or the guy. He doesn't like drummers or this or that. You know, put something together and do a real performance. Not just yourself noodling.
I don't get it. I mean, writing songs, you can sit by yourself, all alone, in your little house in Nashville, Do it on the computer. Send the files to anyone, anywhere in the world. You don't have to meet a single person. So the digital era would be perfect for a guy like Vinnie Vincent in order to make music.
100%.
There's Pro Tools to use and so on. They can put it all together as a band, whatever. So, I mean, there's people that do their own music and use, electronics to fill in the other music instruments if they don't know how to play them. That can be done too. And he can sing. I know he has a good voice, so he can sing it himself, put something out. But I don't know. How I feel about it, I'm not like, in Julian's head where he's affected and it affects, I listen to Look It Up. I love Look It Up. I don't think about it's one person.
Doesn't rub you the wrong way.
No drawback, So, I again, just like you, Julian, I wish I wish him well. I hope he's doing fine, whatever he does. But I think when he does come out, he just tends to shoot himself in the foot.
Yeah, let me make clear, that whole in my head thing right now is just, I'm in a very negative place, that I'm just being inundated by negativity, and I'm just being worn down. So I will get over it, no doubt, and get back to the part where I can just play any Kiss album and be a happy camper again. So, getting back to negativity. With COVID trending back up in the U.S., does that affect your view of the end of the road and what may come next? Because obviously the band has been forced into now what is an extended hiatus from the road. They've missed the European legs of the tour. Daniel, that will have affected you. They're going to miss probably the U.S. autumn run. They canceled the last few dates of the last U.S. run. Australia probably gets screwed again. So, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, would you go to a concert in the next 6 months and get into a crowd and feel confident to be within a few feet of several thousand other people of undetermined hygiene and quarantining? And also, for that matter, do you think Kiss should rebrand the whole end of the road thing now that they've been forced into an extended break, and just call it something else for the final run? Which I certainly do think that the end of the road now, just get rid of it all, be done with it, sell off that merch, rebrand it so that everyone who bought end of the road stuff has to buy new, one last time, the last final time. This is really it.
We really mean it this time.
Yeah. COVID prevented us from doing it for reals, but now we're absolutely sick. No.
We can blame it on...
Commercially, to me, it makes sense to get rid of everything that is kind of sullied by COVID and the era. They had the great run. Now they should kind of call it something else for the final, slip and slide into the water of retirement. But for me, I'm not going to any concerts anytime soon. I don't have any tickets. I have everything refunded. I won't even go on the cruise next year. It's a personal preference that I just don't have enough data in order to really know where it's going. And having been sick multiple times from it, I've got a little bit more of a perspective of just how bad it can be. And to have been coughed on by people who didn't wear a mask is just like the ultimate insult after surviving the fucking thing in the first place. So, and yeah, I was stupid not to have my mask up, but there you go. It's just too much risk. There's too much politics that go around with it as well. I can't wait to go to a show. If there was going to be like a Peter Criss one in New York City, and Peter said, I'm going to do it, it's going to be in October of this year, or else I would be there. I'd be buying tickets. Would I buy tickets to a Vinnie? No. If it was something really special, I would do it. But for the most part, the casual thing, it's such a pain in the ass to go to shows anyway. And then you read about all the kind of things that Live Nation's up to, the monopolies with these shows. But we've got so many of these tours that have been put on hold. The Crew, Def Leppard thing, the Guns N' Roses. Got to have another chance for that. and who knows what else in terms of reunions, while these bands realize that they're really not getting royalty checks through this. Lonnie, go back to you on that since I said Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, I mean, I was supposed to get. We had our tickets for August to go to. We were gonna drive up to Indianapolis because all those concerts that were getting announced like in January and February were like, oh, that'd be cool, it'd be cool. And like, oh, hang on, let's just wait. And then they announced that, and like we jumped on it. It's like, that's one thing that one band that we both love. It's like, yeah, we're going and we're spending money, big money to go to that. I don't care, So, but it's postponed, so get to hold my money, which is nice. So, I don't know. I mean, I remember we had this conversation back in like March and April when things were getting shut down and things were like shut down all over and everything was shut down. I was hopeful that, oh, you know what, by fall, we should be up and going by then, and it doesn't look likely at all that something like that's going to be able to take place as far as large crowds go. I mean, I'm just hopeful that these sporting events can get off the ground in the United States even without fans. I mean, just give me something to watch on TV besides freaking reruns of how many times can I watch the same episode of The Office over and over again? I need something else to watch. So I'm really hopeful about sports, and some days I feel good about it. Some days I come home from work and I really don't feel good about it. So we'll see. But as far as concerts go, I think concerts are going to be like the last thing to come back. I mean, because come on, we've all been to a concert and the guy sitting next to you is gross and it's not a freaking pandemic going on. Not usually, of course.
No, it's the guy sitting next to me was Ken. You're offending him.
Well, then turn to your left then.
We got on the other side.
We got on the other side. Well, we've all been at a concert, and like I've sat at a concert before with my brother, and we're sitting there in between bands, and he's looking around, and he's like, my God, he goes, where did some of these people work? And we walked out of a concert, and he goes, if the whole world were to just implode tonight, and the only thing left standing is this arena, he goes, you and I would run the planet. I mean, we've all been to concerts. You're like, oh my gosh, look at him. He's a disaster. We've all been there. And that's a terrible thing to say. You don't know the person. The guy, maybe just, it's a different person on the weekends than he is during the week. He might be the CEO of a company. I really don't know.
Right.
But we've all thought things like that when we've been at a concert. Oh my gosh, that guy hasn't bathed in a week. I mean, come on. So that being said, if this guy hasn't bathed in a week, I mean, are we really not ready to go sit next to this guy at a show full of 60,000, 10,000 people? Not for a while. Not till some kind of more of a handle gets placed on this than just social distancing and wearing a mask. So, I mean, I think we're a ways away, or we're a vaccine away. If and then is the vaccine safe? And then there's a whole different set of questions. So unfortunately, I think we're a ways away, and Kiss being their age, and the health risks that come along with we've all read things about the higher, the greater the age, the more the health risk. I mean, are they really going to be ready to come back and say, yeah, we're going to go back out on tour in 2021, 2022, whenever that is? I mean, Gene will be 71, 72. Or has Kiss kind of had their last hurrah in Lubbock, Texas, and we didn't even know it at the time, kind of like Charleston, South Carolina in 2000, and we didn't know it at the time. History has a way of repeating itself sometimes.
Yeah, maybe their last hurrah is a pay-per-view, because are they willing to get up on stage and die for the people you just described? In such elegant words. And that is, of course, Lonnie who said all that. So. Nice. I thought you were usually sitting next to Joe as well. You know, I'm sure he's going to be you're going to get a phone call. You're in
Just shot
trouble
at Odell
now.
from out of nowhere.
Yep. Daniel, what are your thoughts, especially with some of the larger European crowds that American audiences just don't understand?
Yeah, I was looking forward to going to see Kiss once again on this tour, and Stockholm, we were going to be 35,000. Won't be near that kind of crowd anytime soon. So, as Lonnie said, concerts might be the last thing that comes back. So, I'm not getting my hopes up. And if you can't really whine because you're missing concerts when people are dying, but I was going to see Rammstein one weekend and the following weekend Kiss. So I had my hopes up. So we all have to find other ways to have some fun. Me personally, I like to be outdoors, hiking, fishing, driving my boat, going to my cabin, going out with a friend or two, sleepovers in tents in the Swedish mountains, that kind of stuff. So that has really been something I've been doing this summer. We have a pretty long vacation here in Sweden. I have 6 weeks, so I have a lot of time to fill. Not sure how long vacation you guys have, but probably a bit shorter. So that has really grown on me, the outdoor living, so to speak, the outdoors. So that's what I've been doing, and I've put concert way back in my head, and I don't try to think of it because I'm not sure there will be any concerts, maybe even next year. So, and as Lonnie said, they're getting up there in age. Will they be able to finish this tour? I'm not sure.
Yeah, at least Rammstein has enough pyro to kill any COVID in the neighborhood. Ken.
Well, I recently watched, I don't know if you saw this, I don't know, I came across it because I was looking for something else, but Gene Simmons had a video with a whole bunch of guys, Gene Simmons and the Captains of Industry Conference. I don't know if you saw that, but it's on his website, thegenesimmons.com, and I thought, oh, it's interesting, I'll check it out. So I listened to some of it. Other people were talking about, there's a whole bunch of people involved that were on video and screen here. And they were talking about, COVID and, how it affects their business and that sort of thing too. But Gene Simmons did say that we're gonna finish the tour. Basically, we are going to finish it. It may take longer, he said, a year or two out. But he said they plan on finishing the, end of the road tour. But yeah, I do agree with you, Julian, that maybe they should rebrand it. I don't know if they had just saying part 2 would make any sense, do anything like that. But I think it should be something else, like we, Kiss, we survived tour or something.
And then they could do like Farewell Tour 3 after that.
Then after that, yeah, a couple of years later. So do I think they're going to do it? I think they're going to continue. Now, I don't know if that July 17th, 2021 is really going to be that last show. I think they're going to have to move it out beyond this tour. So that's going to have to be pushed maybe a year or two later. Maybe a year later, assuming, again, there's a vaccine and this thing, stops. Or
not necessarily a vaccine, just better odds.
Vaccine.
Much better odds.
That work. Yeah. But, yeah, I agree, though, that maybe they should call it something else. Just, like you said, Julian, sell all that end of the road stuff and bring something fresh, a new slogan, new something, and then they could put new costumes, even freshen it up, just freshen it all up, and have something coincide with it, or like a release, and they make some more money. So,
I mean, Jesus Christ, does this not get Paul Stanley thinking about climbing mountains and I'm going to persevere and nothing's going to keep me down and
Settle down there.
write a song? You're going to need a theme song for the Farewell Tour 2.
well, Gene Simmons wrote a song for him, something about keep your tail between your legs or something. But
keep your tail between your backbone slipping.
So there you go.
All right, good thoughts and all that, but I think everything gets moved forward by 18 months. Final show, January the 31st. Or what was it, 30th? January, whatever the 50th anniversary, 1973.
2023.
Yeah.
New York City.
On the 50th anniversary.
Yep, that would be...
Shut it down.
Not in New York City in January, please. Maybe in warmer climate,
Oh, California?
somewhere a little bit more reachable.
Closer to home for them, which
San
would be
Francisco,
Los Angeles.
No, San Francisco. That would be colder than New York, even without the snow. But there we go. All right, final mini topic for today's discussion, and I kind of bagged on it last week. The bootleg box sets that come out that don't have to deal with any of the copyright issues and all that. They are fantastic product, and if Universal and Kiss aren't doing them because they won't sell enough to what some bean counter in Department A, Meredith, damn it, says they're going to make, someone else will, and they become very popular. They're selling for $300 or something a pop. They're really steep. What would be your ultimate box if you were the person that was designing one and was going to put it out to the fans, not worrying about copyright, not worrying about cutting and pasting from various sources to build those beautiful glossy books full of photos and music? Mine is something that Universal would never do. It'll be the ultimate Crazy Nights box. It'll be the demos, some of the best live shows, some of the rare tracks, and all that, and the videos, of course, all packaged up into a beautiful package with picture book, tour dates, everything like that. And someone could probably come up with a remaster of the album as well, for that matter, that just makes the sonics a little bit more warm than the clinically produced version that is on the album, because there are no limitations. Daniel, what would be your ultimate bootleg box?
Actually, I would make a metallic box. It would have to be pretty huge, and there would be some blood and bullets on it, bullet holes, and big...
Lonnie is liking that already.
In order to open it. Maybe Lonnie has the same idea, I don't know. And on it would say, the Revenge Era. Kiss.
Nice.
Oh, I knew it.
Stole my idea.
You open it up, and of course you need a booklet. So I would include a huge booklet covering all the tours. And some people might say, well, the Revenge Era, they played in the States for a few months and it went nowhere. Well, that's actually not true. They did quite a few tours, if you break it down. So I would have photos from the club tour. They started out in America. Then they went to the UK for a few days. I missed those dates with like 2 weeks. I was there in the UK a bit too late. That's one of my big downers. And then they had the Revenge Stadium tour. That is the proper Revenge tour. But other than that, you could include photos from South America, 94. Some beautiful shots from there. Japan, 95. Australia, 95. And put it all. You could even include some stuff from the Foundation's Forum in 93. Or those dates they did for some festivals. The Blaze Fest and...
Blaze Fest in Arizona.
Arizona State Fair. You've got the Gibson anniversary.
Yeah.
Conventions.
And I also like new stuff. I need something. I'm a little bit against, re-releasing old stuff all the time, the same old. So you would have to include something new in the booklet. So if I was the guy doing this, I would buy a lot of photos from like Nico from Strike Magazine, unpublished photos, have them in the booklet, and I will also add interviews with fans who were attending the shows. So like a guy from Australia could talk about the Australian '95 tour, some personal stories, how it was, because it was kind of a frenzy in Australia, even in '95. There are some videos online when Kiss are arriving in Australia and the fans go nuts. So there should be some pretty exciting stories from there. So all these personal stories and unreleased photos in a big glossy booklet, the Revenge Era with the blood and the things on the cover. So that would be included. When it comes to the music, well, I would like to. I actually prefer CDs, but maybe we need to do picture discs, LPs. I don't know if people would buy more units if you made picture discs, but something with the music, beautiful pictures, of course, live photos on the discs. And I would pick one of my favorite bootlegs is I think it's from Brooklyn, the club tour '92. Excellent sounding, lots of energy. And then you would have to have something from the stadium tour, maybe Dayton. I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
Daytona?
Or Dayton.
Dayton,
Oh,
Ohio.
Dayton.
Dayton,
Ohio?
Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah. In '92, that one. And then I would actually have the Revenge rehearsals. There's a good copy of that one as well from Bethlehem in '92. And the final disc would be the Revenge demos. There's a few floating around, a lot of instrumentals. But if you could dig really deep, maybe you could get a hold of Bruce Kulick's rapper version of Paralyzed that you actually can hear a little bit of if you listen to what's the name of that show, the vinyl well, the Behind the Vinyl. Kulick was interviewed for that show, and he played a snippet, if you haven't heard it, from Paralyzed with a rapper on it. Not my cup of tea, but it would be perfect for this type of box set. Maybe even you could get a hold of Do You Want to Touch Me Now and put that on as well. So that would be the music. But I actually enjoy watching Kiss as well. So you would have to have Blu-rays or DVDs. There are a few shows that you could have in the box set that looks pretty. They look pretty good, like Santiago '94.
Mm-hmm.
I would have that one on this. Buenos Aires '94, Tokyo '95, and actually MTV covered the club tour and did like a sort of a special. So there's some pretty good footage. It's one camera, but from the club tour. So that would be on there as well. And then I would have Andrew Schimbatti do sort of a Revenge Era DVD in the vein of the videos he'd done, where you try to put the Revenge Era in. You go like in a time capsule, and you see clips of Bill Clinton doing stuff, and you can have the LA riots.
Well, hopefully not him doing stuff. I'm not paying for that.
Yeah, he didn't do any stuff. It was someone else who did stuff to him. Anyway, and
Not paying to watch that either.
No. Remember, Daniel said that. Not me.
I would actually include the speech. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. And then I would have the emergence when grunge came. Maybe a few clips of Alice in Chains, real great band, or Stone Temple Pilots, and maybe Stone Temple Pilots when they play in makeup, as they did in I think '93 in Kiss makeup. And also, I would have the guy that made Ace's latest video, the animated thing. Would have that guy do Unholy and Take It Off in the same vein, but with the Revenge Era guys running around and doing stuff. That would look pretty cool. And also, you have lots of interviews you could throw in there. The Headbangers Ball special from '92 in Europe, real good interview. Maybe aren't a lot of good footage of the UK tour, but there's 2 songs from Wembley in '92 that are pretty good. I Stole Your Love and Deuce, so I would have them on as well. And then you could just throw in interviews from Australia, Japan, and so on. So that would be the DVDs. And man, this is a great box. I wish someone would do this. But finally, you need some extras, some small things. I saw this cool-looking, really ugly Revenge dolls at one point. I would have those included. I'll just show you.
Julian's a big fan of the dolls. That's good.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, but they are so ugly that it's perfect. It's. I'll just show you briefly. Have you seen these? Where are they? I don't know if you can see them. But there's Gene, Paul, Bruce.
Interesting.
Eric.
Those are terrible.
Yeah, they're
They're great.
But they're perfect.
They're great at the same time.
Yeah.
Especially
Interesting.
Gene looks. I don't know.
It's really bad.
But a cool little, instead of like a button or a pin or something, these dolls would be a whole lot better, cooler. And what else? Yeah, one thing I also like when it comes to merchandise is something that you can actually use. So like a deck of cards with pictures of the band members, and also include Eric Carr from the God Gave Rock and Roll video in the deck of cards, and some sort of patch, maybe even a back patch in the how they looked back in the 80s. I haven't seen one from the Revenge era, so that would be kind of cool. And maybe also include some replicas that they actually released. They didn't do a whole lot of merchandise, but you had some kind of fun stuff like the Revenge bandana, kind of cool, and the Kiss condoms from '92 with the unholy skull on. And or maybe just a bag of air guitar strings. That's kind of fun. So that would be my metallic box.
Nice.
Holy cow.
You know you'd buy it.
For 8 payments
I'd
of
buy it.
$3,000.
Yeah.
No, and Do You Want to Touch Me Now circulates out there. It's all over the places. Like the worst kept secret out there after the I video became. So Ken, all right, what's your ultimate Kiss box?
I just want everything in one box. I don't have to wait all the time, because if they're going to do 30 albums or 20 or whatever, it's going to take forever at this pace. I want to see them out before I'm 6 foot under, So, if they're going to do it, I thought, why not do it in an era kind of thing? Maybe kind of like Nothing to Lose, the book, right? You do the first album through Alive, and then after that do Destroyer through, Unmasked or something like that, right? But put everything in that 5-year or whatever period of time. I want to hear all the demos. I want to have all that on CD, definitely on CD, the demos, and maybe remastered original stuff, any extras, live stuff, best live recordings you can come up with during that time period, for 74, 75, 76, that few years, get all the best stuff. Also live video, any live video you can get out of the woodwork, or that they have or other people have, and then booklet, a nice book that has the beginning and shows newspaper articles and reviews, good or bad, pictures, live pictures of them on stage at those different times, and what I said Blu-ray, video, and other things, posters at the time, maybe some of the advertising for their concerts at that time period. Some of those kind of things that could be also in a book versus an actual poster or postcards or whatever you want to do. But just have it detailed and a lot of more detail about the recordings and about the time period and what was going on. And it's kind of a time capsule too of that time period, and just do it like that. Otherwise, that's just one way of doing it. I'd rather them just, like I said, to put everything in one huge thing. Just give me everything that you have, and more regarding the music, their music, unreleased music, and their video, concert kind of video stuff that hopefully we haven't seen some of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go into anymore. I could go on forever, of course. We can go on forever with this stuff, but it's just, we'd like to see something from them.
Yeah. All right, Lonnie, what would your ultimate revenge box contain?
Well, I'm not going to do a revenge box, as Daniel just talked about a revenge box. What I think would really be cool, and it's something that they really dropped the ball on, if you can believe that they dropped the ball on something, and that is a box set to commemorate the reunion tour, because they never did anything. I mean, as successful as that monster was, they put out the Second Coming, which is cool, but they never put out that should have been a live 4, is a show or a compilation of shows from the reunion tour. I mean, you're the biggest band in the world at the time. You've made a living and you've made your staple in rock and roll off of your live albums. You've just packed arenas and stadiums all over the country. Why didn't you put out some kind of live product when that tour was over to kind of, feed our Kiss hunger between that and Psycho Circus? It would only have made sense. I mean, they could have been they could have, obviously they filmed every night. They could have taken that and cleaned it up some while they're on tour, or during breaks on tour, and clean it up some and put it out by the time they came back around the States in '97 when they did the Lost Cities tour and then went back to Europe to finish the tour. But obviously they didn't do that. So my ultimate box set would be a reunion box set. Put multiple shows. Put that Tiger Stadium. I mean, I know we have the Tiger Stadium of Kissology, but I bet there's better mixes than just the soundboard that's on the Kissology. The Tiger Stadium, the Madison Square Garden, some of those shows from Europe, audio and video on both of them. Give me the Alive album that we should have gotten from the reunion tour. Give me a big ass photo book from the reunion tour documenting that. Give me some of the rehearsals. Give me some of that rehearsals, as embarrassing as it might have been even at the beginning. And knowing Gene and Paul, they probably would love to show you how embarrassing it was, maybe at the beginning even too. Say, hey, this is what we had to work with type thing, as in typical Gene and Paul vein. So I would love something from the reunion tour, Blu-rays, a big ass book, and some live shows from there. New York, Detroit, some of those big stadium shows. The show in Japan where Gene lost his voice. Give me that whole show where Gene lost his voice and Paul had to sing the whole thing. I mean, there's bootlegs of it. I have it. But give me a cleaned up, awesome copy of that. So that's my big. I mean, and we've talked about, they should have done something for Japan 2001. I'm just going to focus on the reunion tour because that was just the most magical time to be a Kiss fan, and it was never documented as it should have been.
Oh, 2021 is coming, 25th anniversary of the reunion. So why not the best of the reunion? A selection of shows from there would be really cool. And make Andrew do a multicam as well would be really nice. There's some great bootlegs.
Oh yeah,
Burning Stockholm was always one of my favorites, as was Your Housen is My Housen, Oberhausen. Absolutely fantastic. And Osaka with Gene. And for the pro shots that they're not the pro shots, they're the camera feeds, I guess. You've got Toledo, you've got Columbus, you've got
Atlanta.
Miami. Yeah, well, Atlanta was the Japan broadcast.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of really good stuff that could be kind of especially if it doesn't involve official stuff that could be put together, which would be really nice. I would love to hear rehearsals. And I saw a torrent yesterday that was actually the recorded outside the Tiger Stadium parking lot of the rehearsals or the sound check for the Tiger Stadium show, which is really cool. Lonnie's got to be ace.
Damn it.
Stupid damn backgrounds. There we go. God, these things are just going to make everyone dizzy. All right, so there we are. That's a whole bunch of assorted topics, and, what are your thoughts on those? What would be your ultimate bootleg box now that these things seem to be the only way to get any cool stuff packaged together? What are your thoughts on some of those releases? Did you enjoy Peter Criss's sing-along session? Shame on you if you didn't, but if you didn't, what would you love him to do?
What's your box set, Julian?
It was the Crazy Nice one.
That's right. That's right.
The band will never do it, so might as well have the bootleggers put one together properly, and maybe an animalized one for that matter. With an animal skin box. There we go. Yeah. And a coupon for Paul's Pumas. All right, so let's leave that there for this week. Thank you all for joining us. Chime in on all these topics wherever you may listen to us. But for now, from Ken, from Lonnie, Daniel, myself, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Take care. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.